Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Stoveside Chats. My name is Chad Blackwelder with the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. Thank you for tuning in today. I know it's a busy day. I'm sure a lot of people are tuned in to the live coverage at the Capitol. Excuse the noise. That's my dog Archie. He's ready for a walk, but he'll get over it soon. Jenny Matthews, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thanks to the folks who are following us. We really appreciate it. We're getting close to hitting the 10,000 follower mark. Hey, Heidi Bellato, on the Got to BNC Instagram feed. So that's pretty exciting. All right, we have a good show today. Jeffery Coker from Burrell Farms will be joining us. Just waiting for his handle to pop up on the screen. I'll invite him into the conversation. Next week, we're going to be talking with the folks from Hall River Mushrooms in Saxapahaw, North Carolina. So that should be a lot of fun. We've worked with their product before. Fantastic. And then we're working on some stuff for next month. Barbershop Creative, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. All right. I'm just looking for the Burwell guys. Farming 96, thank you for joining us. So yeah, I've got a couple chefs lined up for next month. And again, every Wednesday moving forward, Chef Mark Andrew, thanks for joining us. Lo Perez, thank you for joining us. We'll be doing a product and Got to BNC member profile the first Wednesday of every month. Oscar 2830, thank you for joining us. All right, Harbor Seafood joined, thank you. A lot of folks joining, looking for Burrell Farms. We'll give them just a few more minutes. So, yeah. This is always fun, killing time. So let's see what's going on with Department of Ag Food Service Marketing. We are in talks with the folks at the Chow Chow Festival, which had their first year was in 2019, a fantastic food and wine festival in Asheville. So we're talking with them about our sponsorship for this year. Typically it's done over a long weekend, but the organizers and the board from Chow Chow decided to spread it out over the whole summer, which is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be some virtual pieces and some in-person events, obviously sticking with COVID guidelines and making sure everyone is safe. So that'll be a lot of fun. And planning on the food show, the big food show in Chicago, the National Restaurant Association food show, we're organizing that. Luke McCall, thank you for joining us. So we have a six, there's Burrell Farms. All right, let's bring them in. So we have a 6-vendor pavilion for the NRA food show. So we'll be bringing up 6 of our Got to BNC members to let the nation and the world know about some of the great stuff that we're doing in North Carolina. And we're buffering right now. We're waiting for Burrell Farms to sync up with us here. Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. For the folks watching, this is Jeffery Coker of Burrell Farms in Warrenton, North Carolina. So Jeffrey, let's start out like we normally do. Let's talk about your background a little bit, and then we'll talk about Burrell Farms.
Sure. I'm Jeffery Coker, president of Burwell Farms. I've got a biology, spent a lot of years as a biology professor at Elon University, administration there. Also a dean and vice president at Westminster College, but always kept a foot in plant biology and the study of plants, the study consulted early or at different stages along the Burwell Farms process, and came along later to join the Burwell Farms operation, and it's been fantastic.
Very cool. Now tell us about Burwell Farms. Talk a little bit about, before we talk about the actual product, a little bit about where the farm's located and a little bit about the history of the farm.
Sure. The farm is in Warren County. It's a family farm going back for generations. The owner's family. It's gone through different stages over, but a little under a decade ago, the owner decided to give truffles a shot and figured out, enlisted some help to figure out how to take a world-class European white truffle and attach it to the roots of loblolly pine trees. So it was a high-stakes gamble over time, but through a lot of science and a lot of hard work, the work, and we after 3.5 years, first truffles were found in the field, and then I'd say a couple of years, what I would call commercial level, to the harvest season, which starts here in a week, to where we think we're probably the largest of truffles in North America, unless somebody's doing something that we know about. But it's been wonderfully cool, and we're grateful to be in this position.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what was the deciding factors on truffles? Is it the fact that you guys have so many pines in the area? Was there other things that led to that decision?
I think it's just globally, if you look back in the night, from the sweep of the last 150 years, there's far more demand for truffles than there has been supply. Demand in Europe, particularly in net harvested truffles, has been in decline, 80-90% over 100 years. So it's a wonderful food, and extremely popular, and its production has been in decline. I think we saw this as an opportunity for to supply something that people really want. It's also great. North Carolina. North Carolina is really positioned to be both a national leader and a global leader in the production of white truffles. Loblolly pine tree, our fortunate actually grows on the roots of pine trees as well as other things. And there's so much known about loblollies that, in terms of stress problems, grow it, knowing how to deal with it, and so forth, it's just a really system to work with. So that was how the larger logic.
Yeah. Jeffrey, I'm sorry, your audio was kind of going in and out just a little bit. Can you just kind of check things on your end? You might need to come a little bit closer.
All right, I made an adjustment. Hopefully that'll help.
That sounds better. Thank you. Yes, and okay, so tell us about the type of truffle you're growing, because we've seen in the past some of the Perigord, the black truffles being grown in North Carolina, but you guys are doing the first of what kind of varietal? Tell us about that.
Sure. It's the Europeans call it the bianchetto, or if you're Italian, the bianchetto. In Italy, that means the small whites. They're world-class white truffle that is European in origin. In Europe, interestingly, they grow. We've actually, if you go to our Instagram page, every picture of a truffle is a truffle directly out of our orchard. We don't post pictures of people's truffles, and we've been contacted by a number of Europeans, including European truffle, who will say, "Hey, wait a second, you're posting tuber magnata, you're posting the big whites," and we've said, "No, we're not. we're posting North Carolina bianchettos." They have a fantastic aroma. They are a little different from the black, but around the world there's different truffles that will come into different times of year. So I think there's room in the market for all of them, but we sure do think that ours is near the top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you guys, I guess we were put in touch, I guess about 2 years ago, and I was really excited to hear about white truffles being grown in the state. I'd worked with some other folks in the past with the black truffles, and it was always good. It was always exciting to get a truffle from North Carolina, but the second time I got to visit Burwell Farms, we organized a group of chefs who came up, and they had a blast, and they got to get in the field and watch Laddie, the super dog, work, and also get out there and dig some of their own truffles. And when we brought them back and got them cleaned up and were able to actually look inside the truffle, and actually I posted a great picture when I was posting about this interview today of a cross cut on one of your truffles, and it's beautifully marbled inside. And the flavor and the aroma was, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. I mean, again, just, referencing what I know about North Carolina truffles from the past, this really blew me away. I mean, it was earthy. It's, has that kind of umaminess that Parmesan has, and very buttery and garlicky. And it's a great product. And to see it happen so fast is pretty phenomenal. Were you guys expecting things to move along so quickly?
I think the truth is that, when you try a new agricultural system, as you know as well as anyone, you're not completely sure what's going to happen. I think everyone was pleasantly surprised at at which everything came out. To see truffles in an orchard in only 3.5 years is far extreme end of the positive curve. And last year, I think the harvest last year was far bigger than we could have hoped for, far bigger than research suggested we should have. And I think we know what we've got in the field for this year. To some extent, it's going to be another great harvest. So I think we're pleasantly surprised at every step.
Yeah, and I know that I've had a couple of conversations with Richard Franks, and from what he said, everything that you guys were told, the opposite happened on your farm. I know that he said that folks told you that they're not going to grow in clay, that would grow more in, I guess, the sandy or loomy areas. But those kind of things have been sort of the opposite for Burwell Farm so far, right?
Yeah, I tell you, as a plant biologist and scientist myself, this is a really this is a field in need of a lot of study. I can tell you, if you just go online and look at wisdom among truffle growers, and then you see what happened at Burwell Farms, which, as you say, is it's hard to find good resources because, and I think to some extent, it speaks to how many commercial failures there have been in truffles in North America and in North Carolina. We've learned a whole lot of things that go against.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong on these numbers, but the first year you guys harvested a little over 300 truffles, and last year it was over 5,000. Is that right?
That sounds about right. I've got it in my ounces and pounds.
Okay, yeah.
Last year, a little over 200 pounds of ounces.
Wow.
Doesn't sound. Yeah, if you're hard.
Sorry, almost pulled my cord out. Yeah.
But 200 truffles is a lot, and I think about that this year.
Yeah, it really is, and I know that you guys were really pleasantly surprised about that kind of growth. Unfortunately, it fell on a weird year. So talk about, it's one of the questions that we always ask in the Stoveside Chats is how you guys managed last year and are still managing the pandemic moving into 2021 with this tricky product that you're working with.
Yeah, that's a great question. Question of the last year, right? I think, like everyone else, when the pandemic hit and restaurants started to shut down, we were not prepared for that. Nobody was prepared for that, I don't think, in the food industry. And so we went from, and it happened right during the harvest, which is 1st of April, which is right when the pandemic hit. And so before it hit, most of our customers were chefs at really good restaurants, and they tended to buy quantities at a time, and all of that just stopped. When the restaurants shut down, all of that. And so we had some leftover truffles, and eventually we still sold out. We still sold everything, but it was a lot tougher than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
That said, several very positive things out of that for us. I am incredibly hopeful about Burwell Farms going forward. Number one, it forced us to increase our customers, and now we have real sales pipelines and so forth. We haven't harvested a single truffle to ship for the harvest that's about to happen. We've already sold into 23 different states and 3 countries, I think, as of this morning. So we're doing very well. We're doing very well. And but the orders are different. Rather than a smaller number of chefs buying a lot, it's it's a lot of individual consumers. It is still chefs, some buying a lot, some buying a little. A lot of people buying small amounts of sample, and then when they get a great product, they'll come in and swoop in and buy a lot. So it's positive to force us to diversify. And the other thing it has done is last year we were just selling fresh truffles. Now we're set up to continue to sell fresh, but also to be able to sell frozen truffles. We're looking at some I think really positive announcements over the coming weeks and months for other truffle products that will so we'll have things to sell 12 months out of the year. And I think we would have gotten to those things anyway eventually, but the freezing in particular, figuring out the logistics of that, we really moved that up a timeline. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to some of your announcements. It's going to be a lot of fun seeing those new products come out. Now, walk us briefly through the life of a truffle. Like, how long is it in the ground, and how long is the ripening stage and the curing stage and all that?
That's a wonderful question. There's a lot that's not known. But it's a really intricate, wonderful process that brings together 3 kingdoms of life. You've got your plant, and you've got your fungi, and then animals are part of the life cycle too. So if we start at, I'll start, around, for our species, the previous harvest would end in early April, and then whatever was left, the spores of the past year, dissipate into the soil. They create the fungi for following years, and the little I'll try not to use scientific words on Instagram, but that's different from different trees, and different fungi will make their way through the soil. They'll find each other and connect, and those connections are where a truffle will start to form. Then it has to be from 2 different mating types as well, which is a whole different. The truffles will start to form. We found that in the summer, the early stages of that start to happen. Get into the fall, and you can actually find truffles in the field in the fall, but they just don't have aroma yet. And then they get bigger and bigger until about November, December. Past that point, they tend not to get much bigger, but the November, December, January phase is where the ripening is. That's where the magic is.
Yeah.
And so as they ripen, the spores will develop. They start to turn to a kind of brown color. And at the time that you could slice one, then see an amber brown, and it's ripe. Of course, you'll smell it, and you'll know it's ripe. And it's at that point when we're and we don't ship a single one until we're seeing it, and it just looks perfect and it smells perfect, and then it's ready to ship. They don't all ripen at once, and so it's a lot of work, a lot of chasing the dog around the orchard to find the ripe ones at precisely the right moment where they're perfect. That's when we pull them out of the ground and we can ship them. And unlike any other, for Americans, we can have truffles to you faster than anybody else in the world. So we can have 100 a day.
Wow. Now, is there I guess, like a cumulative effect to the soil? The more spores that are in the ground, does that expedite the process in any way, or does it still have its the season is X amount of time for the truffles to get where they need to be before they're harvested?
I think it helps. I think it helps. So there's definitely a mutually reinforcing effect to have. The more truffle spores you have in the ground, the more likely it becomes that you have truffles in the future. Some farmers will take advantage of that. We've tried experiments taking advantage of that and digging little wells and spraying in spore inoculate to make it more likely that we'll get truffles in the future. So it definitely helps. And once you've got the system going, it's self-propagating.
Yeah, and you guys are also selling the inoculated, the little loblolly saplings too, correct?
We are. So I think at this point, the nice thing about being in a market that has where the problem is supply, not demand, is we really think of other farmers in North Carolina as partners, not competition. And yeah, we're producing inoculated pine tree seedlings that are available for sale, and so that's an important part. And we also use those to grow our own farm. That's been going really well. We just started offering our trees for sale a few months ago, but that's really promising as well.
Now, you guys, I know you have the original 2-acre plot of the loblollies that are well on their way, and I guess will this be the 4th harvest or the 3rd harvest on that plot?
4th.
Okay. Have you guys started clearing any other lots?
Yes, we have 4 more Truffiers that have already been planted, and they're in different, or 4 more orchards. Sorry for the high truffle speed. 4 more orchards have already been planted, and they're in different stages of development. We have one that might produce truffles this year, not on a commercial level, not even close, but we might start to see truffles this year or next year. Yeah, nature is always unpredictable. But then, our is to slowly grow every year. I think if everything goes as planned, we'll see more and more truffles every year for the next decade. Wow,
that's really cool. There's lots that I love about this job, but one of the things is watching you guys grow. It's so exciting to see something like this really take off. Heidi Bellato, who was a food writer and just an all-around culinarian out of the Charlotte area, and she was actually on the tour that we did with the chefs. She just had a great comment. What a great gift your truffles are. So that leads into, tell the folks how they can find your truffles.
Thanks, Heidi. First off, well, feel free to go to our website, burwellfarmsnc.com. You can buy them right there. You can place orders for both truffles and trees on the website. You can tell us what a preferred date, and then we'll work with it. We'll ship it directly to your doorstep on whenever nature allows, and whatever your preferred date is during harvest season. We also so that's the short answer. Just go to our website.
Well, that's great. So folks listening, Burrell Farms and their staff, they're going to do all the heavy lifting, and they're going to make it really easy to get truffles or an inoculated pine tree to your door. So please go and do that, and make sure you're following Burrell Farms on Instagram and Facebook as well. Jeffrey, we're out of time. It always goes by really fast, but thank you so much for being here and educating us on white truffles. And these in particular are the spring truffles, correct?
That's correct. And thank you, Chad, for having us. It's always a pleasure.
You bet. I will be in touch, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Jeffery Coker with Burrell Farms. Really exciting product. The chefs out there, they know, and a lot of the home cooks know it's a really unique product. It's hard to describe. It adds a richness and an umaminess. Again, kind of Parmesan, of course, has a lot of umami. Mushrooms have a lot of umami, and I would say that the truffle fungus itself is high up on the umami totem pole. So It adds a lot of great flavor to your dish. Not a cheap product by any means, but the way that Burwell Farm is doing it and the fact that it's here in North Carolina, it is way, way cheaper than buying the black Perigord French truffles or the white truffles from Italy. Those are super duper expensive. So we've got a great resource, like we do for a lot of things here in North Carolina. We have a lot of great resources for lots of kind of produce, in this case, truffles. So make sure you take advantage of that. All right, join us next week. We'll have the folks from Hall River Mushrooms and Saxapaw. So we'll keep the mushroom theme going. All right, you guys have a great week. Thank you.